first up, what details can you tell us about this attack on that Air Force intelligence compound?
Well, just to make it clear, the Syrian Free Army, which is a group of defectors from the army, they feel that their commitment is just to ease the suffering of the people. They are not in attacking position. They don't have enough equipment or enough numbers. But because Harasta was under siege, under terrible siege for the last almost 14 days, and the people there were not allowed to go out to come in. The food supply were cut from that area, and the people were suffering. The wounded people were in the streets, and their friends and families cannot withdraw them from the streets because of shortage of because of the snipers. So the Syrian Free Army took the decision that they will step in and try to break that siege. And because that siege was controlled by the military security forces, they attacked their bases, trying to create some kind of confusion in the organization and of the security forces in that area. And they succeeded. They could smuggle food. They could take out wounded people to get some kind of treatment in the neighboring neighborhoods.
Because, Musab, the concern here now is that this is now starting to look a lot like the situation in Libya, where you have defectors from the army who are now fighting against regime forces, and this is just going to go from bad to worse. It will become increasingly bloody.
Well, basically, you are 100% right, and I think this is the fault of the international community. They could step in 2 weeks in Libya, but now we are heading to the 9th month, and the international community could not do anything. The people will not retreat under any circumstances, and on the other hand, they still sticking to the principle of peacefulness of their uprising. But on the other hand, you need to imagine that there are a large number of defectors who feel that we will not be able to topple the regime without carrying on some kind of militarization of our movement, and that would create a mess. So I think the international community, this is one of the late stages they can step in before we will be able at the verge of a civil war-like situation.
Okay, so you're laying it very firmly at the feet of the international community here. You're calling for this no-fly zone, but isn't a no-fly zone essentially the start of a slippery slope down towards military intervention? We saw that happen in Libya.
Well, basically, this is not our analysis. I will tell you what the real people on the ground call for. If you go back to last Friday and the Friday before, the title of the week was Civilian Protection, International Protection Week. So that means that the local people who participate in the uprising want two things. They want a safe haven for with the Turkish border to allow the defectors from the army, and who want to defect from the army to seek a safe haven, organize themselves, and go back to help their own people and save them. And on the other hand, they want no-fly zone, because without a no-fly zone, it would be impossible for the defectors to desert the army with their heavy armored vehicles or tanks. So I think this is not a military intervention per se, but this is a call for the international community to protect the civilians. But if this has to be in the form of or in the style of the Libyan scenario, the people, they welcome that. And that was a very clear message from them.